I quite deliberately didn't prepare the framework of my contribution this afternoon because this issue is so important. I wanted it to be delivered by me as naturally as I possibly could. I respect the remarks made by the previous speaker, and I acknowledge that there are large numbers of people in our community who are anxious in relation to this question. I too had a long and successful marriage, 32 years, until I lost my wife. We were blessed with 4 children from our union, and I can say to this chamber that the institution of marriage was significantly important to us from the very beginning. We entered into a married relationship on the basis that it was a commitment given from each to the other, as a man and a woman, with the primary intention of being blessed as we were with the 4 children that we have, and subsequently many grandchildren. The question of marriage as an institution allows a belief that has to do with much more than just the union of the man and the woman. It is naturally accepted that from there efforts will be made by that man and woman to have children, celebrate their love and commitment. And it doesn't matter whether you are persuaded by an article of faith, which is the case in my circumstance, or whether you're driven by an argument of nature. A child cannot be delivered without the union of a man and woman, be it through modern techniques, and I don't want any inference drawn on those who struggle with issues of fertility in the development of their families. I said to someone not long ago that just as I become good and competent at being a father, my children had left home. Just as my wife and I, in different ways, become competent at looking after our children in their formative years, they got a year older. And then as we nurtured them through to their teens and become competent again at dealing with children of, in my case, blessed with 2 boys and 2 girls, they grew into the next phase of their lives. And so on and so forth until they left the comfort of our home to make their own lives and indeed go on and be married and have children of their own, in the case of 3 of my children. And so as we discuss this, and I accept, Senator Wright, the importance of the feelings and the aspirations of same-gender couples who want to also make a commitment of this nature, I urge people making a contribution to this to understand that there are other stakeholders in the question. It is not just about the 2 grown-ups, it is about the children. And again, I don't want anybody to suggest that I'm reflecting upon the...
Order. The standing orders require senators to be heard in silence. Senator Sullivan.
The competency or the capacity of same-gender people to raise children. In fact, on a case-by-case study, there would be arguments that children in the care of same-gender, I use the term parents carefully, but in a child in the custody of two same-gender adults, in many instances I accept you could compare for each case where those children are well nurtured, loved and developed accordingly, there would equally be 10 man-woman marriage relationships where the children were worse off. There's no question about that. That's a matter accepted by everybody. As a police officer, I've been into hundreds and hundreds of homes where the man and woman, married or not, didn't deserve to have those children in their care. So the question is not about the necessary competency in taking vows in marriage. Does not reflect the competency of the two adults to provide an appropriate home for children. But developing children have the rights to have parents of different genders, in my view. The evidence that Senator Wright failed to Rice, my apologies. My sincere apologies, Senator Rice. I don't know what the frivolity is in this contribution of mine, but you don't know what the serious is? That's a new low for me in this place, I have to say, Acting Deputy President.
Order.
What I do know as a parent, what I did see evidence of in my married parent status, was the contributions made by the father, in this case myself, and the mother to my children. I saw my children over their life, their developing life, draw different things from each of us. I saw us make different contributions. And I have to say, Senator Rice, that I'm not persuaded by the view of an 8-year-old child. I could make the case that perhaps their considered contribution may well come at some later time in their life, but no 8-year-old I have met could fairly consider the complications of this issue. These children deserve the very best chance they have to develop in life, to draw upon the strengths of their parents of different genders. I can quote you much of the correspondence I've been given. You related to a dozen or so episodes there of people who have contributed to persuading you to supporting this legislation. I could equally, Senator Rice, to others in the chamber, bring some of the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of emails that I've received over recent time from married couples, traditionally married couples, men and women, who have urged me as a legislator to resist any moves to change the long, centuries-held definition of a man and a woman. It's no accident Again, for me it's an article of faith. For others, it's a natural extension, that it takes the man and the woman to create the child. And the child, certainly at birth, and for a considerable period of time afterwards, is naturally, in a physical sense, nourished by their mother. We didn't create this. This is an act of nature. But for the many millions of Australians who may well be agnostic on the issue of same-gender couples, and let's just for the moment park up sexual descriptions. Let's just sit it outside the chamber. It's just referred to two adults who may hold strong affection for each other. I challenge that not. For many millions of Australians, they don't want to see the institution of marriage disturbed. At the same time, they are agnostic about measures that might be taken by their legislators, by their governments, or in the progress of public opinion, about being able to establish conditions upon which that union may function as a matter of law, as a matter of equality, without intruding on this long-held institution of marriage. 4 years after the loss of my wife, I met my current partner, Christina. We have now been together for almost 5 years. We haven't, at this point in time, felt the compulsion to get married. Indeed,
Senator will come to order.
Indeed, I would challenge anyone who challenges our love and affection and respect for each other and the commitment that we make as partners in life. Dear, oh dear, I tell you, through you, Mr Acting Deputy Chair, these quips do your cause no service at all. We don't feel the compulsion to take on the title of marriage, and that does not diminish the relationship that Christina and I have. In fact, be it that we are a widow and a widower, in many respects we still feel married with our partners gone. We are still dealing with the commitments for life that we made, a man to a woman and a woman to a man. And so, in closing my contribution, Mr Acting, I find this fascinating that someone can be laughing over in the corner on a subject that's probably the most important to have come into this chamber since I've been here. In closing, Mr Acting Deputy President, I say this. This institution has more stakeholders than simply the acronym that's been provided by my colleague. It is for children. It is for children yet to be born, who have a right to a mother and a father. They have a right, as nature dictates, or convictions held by others from other sources, to grow up in a balanced environment where they can gain the gifts provided by a father and a mother. I am in accord with my party's policy on this position. There is no conflict either in the policy of the National Party or in the policy of my state Liberal National Party, or indeed the policy of the Federal Liberal Party. And if we want to draw upon people's contributions. I represent a party in the state of Queensland that has some 14,000 members who every day caucus on matters of importance with people who are not even members of our party. Their family, their neighbours, their employees, their employers. And their views are filtered down through a whole system, a very fair and democratic system, to arrive at a central point eventually, and some policy settings take many years to develop. And so there is strength in the collective argument of their position, in my view, and they have consistently, for a very, very long period of time, every time their mind is turned to this question, they have consistently argued and placed policy that marriage is between a man and a woman and should remain unaltered. Unaltered. I stand here representing my party, and my view will remain unaltered, but not as the basis of being slave to party policy. Mine is simply a deeply held conviction that I have, based on my 58 years of life's experience, and accordingly I recommend to my colleagues to resist this legislation in this place at this time.